What's up, Sooner fans? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge on a Wednesday, hump day, getting closer to first game kickoff, 11 o'clock Saturday, Arkansas State. Many things has happened the last, 24, 36 hours with the depth chart being released officially, as well as BV's presser. So we're going to get right into it. Make sure you click subscribe, that you're subscribed to the channel, turn on your notifications, like, comment. Give us all those likes and comments. We appreciate it. Guys, what's some things that stood out on the BV presser?
To me, I think the main thing that I took from it, he talked about, and I have to, the quote was, I don't kind of need to be involved with the defense. I need to be fully involved. And he kind of talked about it a little bit. He felt like last year he was involved, but not fully. And he said, I've been doing defense. That's what I'm known for. I need to be fully involved with it, and not taking anything away from the defensive staff. Like he said, when he was a defensive coordinator for years, it was still a team of defensive guys that helped him get to that point. It's going to be the same thing. He's just going to be more involved with it, which I love to see. As an OU fan, the guy knows defense. I want him involved, right? I mean, I think last year was hard, first-year coach, trying to figure out his role maybe and how to do game days and everything. And I just think this year he's going to be big time involved with the defense. I think you already see it, just kind of the way he talks about the defense. And then just also he talked about his in-game management a little bit, and just, he said, hey, anytime you've done something for a year, basically it's there's things you learn from, and you're going to do things differently and all that. So, but the first thing is the main thing I noticed from it.
Yeah, and I think that you said that he needs to be fully involved in the defense. And that's something last year that we didn't really see at times, because he would kind of just be focused on like the main team as a whole. And as I know, I don't want to compare him to Lincoln Riley, but whenever Riley was head coach, he was fully involved in the offense, right? He was the offensive coordinator, did things because that was a specialty. So I expect Brent Venables to be more hands-on with the defense. We saw so many videos throughout camp of him really coaching up the linebackers. That's where he would spend a lot of his time, because he's a linebacker guru. That's really what he does the best. And I think that this is going to be a defense that is not only just more improved, but also just maybe more confident in how they approach day in and day out under the leadership of Brent Venables and Ted Roof, both being fully hands-on. And I also think one thing that stood out to me that Brent Venables said was just how every single coach is focused on being better at game managing, not just Brent Venables, right? Because this was a staff last year that really struggled maybe with just on the inexperienced side for some of them and being in these newer roles. So I think that will improve. And that was basically what you said, Jason.
Everything that all of what you guys are saying points to me that and demonstrates to me that there's been people in their ear a little bit. And by people, I mean staff as a whole. I think there's been a lot of self-check, self-evaluation last year. BV's big on reflection. And I think that's part of it. As Jay talked about, getting back at where his passion is, which is defense. He wasn't the same guy on the sidelines that we were used to seeing. And obviously that has been brought up, I'm sure, to him. And by what he says, I think that's one of the results that we're going to see, one of the changes that he's going to make this year. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Another thing that stood out to me, and this is kind of with the depth chart a little bit, there's been a lot of talk about the running back room. And, you have Marcus Major and Tawee Walker there listed as basically the top two there for the first game. And I just think BV says this all the time. One of his favorite sayings, I believe he says, is, your best ability is your availability. I believe he used that all the time. And I think that's part of the deal with the running backs is that Barnes and Sawchek, I believe Sawchek's been a little kind of nicked up and stuff, and I think that's more of what it is. I think Major's going to play a big role this year. I really do. But I think some people that jumped on that depth chart was like, whoa, Tawee Walker. I think kind of back up a little bit and look at it, that there are going to be a lot of carries for all these guys these first few games. But I would bet you after game 3, I think you're still looking at a 3-headed monster, and with Barnes, Sawchuk, and Major.
Yeah, I think Tawi is going to get his fair share of carries, but I don't think it's going to be a 1st and 10 Tawi Walker's trotting out there. I think you're going to see him. Maybe they get pinned deep, or like a 4th and goal, or a 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. That's the situations, goal line you use him in. But ultimately, I think, Barnes and Sawchuk are the cream's going to rise to the top, and Major, I think, is definitely as good as those guys, right? But like you said, with the availability, Major's got to stay healthy. That's going to be the key for him this year. And I think another reason he's going to trot out there on the first down against Arkansas State on Saturday is just because, the dude's been here, 4 or 5 years. He deserves to hear his name called as the starting running back. So I think that also plays into it. But, yeah, I think Barnes and Sawchuk, look, those guys rushed for however much it was combined. I don't remember the exact number in the Cheesable. You got to feel good about where this running back room is at. And the biggest takeaway is not that 2 of them are listed as the running back ones. The biggest takeaway is that Oklahoma has 3 to 4 legitimate guys in that running back room that they're going to be able to count on and switch it up and rotate in and out, keep the legs fresh, and just pound teams to death. That's the biggest takeaway for me. And another guy, even Caleb Hicks, wasn't even listed on that. He's very capable as well.
Look, I'll make no mistake. Everyone knows my thoughts on Marcus Major. I'm the only one sitting here of the 4, and you can count Hunter too, that even said this guy belonged on the field. Okay, I was the only one.
Not true.
That is true. And now we're saying he's as good as Barnes and Sawchuk, which is interesting. We've always said that Marcus Major has the tools and has always had the tools. And if you go back to last year at the beginning of the year, he was running just as good as Eric Gray was before the injury. The guy's not mop-up duty material. I think he's probably going to solidify himself, in my opinion. I'm not speaking for you guys. I think he solidifies himself as RB1 after this first game. My opinion.
Well, Jeremy, the thing is, none of us don't think that Marcus Major was just some mop-up duty guy. The thing is, he can never stay healthy. That was the only question I think all of us have had about him, is his health. That's been the main issue with Marcus Major. And just like I said on one of the last videos we did that I'm fully bought in on the Marcus Major hype. I believe that he's going to show this year what he can be. And that's correct. Last year when him and Eric Gray would play, if he would have been healthy all year, he would have been running back 2 all year long. I don't think there's much argument to that. But the thing is, if he's not healthy, he is never going to be able, in my opinion, to overtake Javonte Barnes or Gavin Sawchuk.
No way. Yeah, I
no
agree
way if he's not healthy. But I don't think Major is going to get I don't think he's going to get that much carries in week 1. Honestly, I think a lot of them are going to go to Barnes, Sawchuk, and then once the game gets where it is, they'll rotate other guys in. But with the depth chart looking at it, running back is a position where you can say, okay, I feel great about the depth they have there. I think we can all agree on that. While Major might be the running back 1 right now, he's got injury concerns, but if he goes down, you feel good about where the running back room is at. A position group that you're very skeptical about is tight end, because looking at that depth chart, Jason Llewellyn's not even on the 2 deep. So that to me, in the back,
he's not on the 40.
No.
Yeah, the 4 deep is essentially what it is. Josh Daniels ahead of him, Cade McIntyre's on there, and Blake Smith's on there. I think Cade McIntyre midseason will be the tight end too, but it's just interesting to see those 3 guys. I mean, you got to look at tight end and be like, dang, like we really only have Austin Stogner right now. Like there's nobody else.
Hey, and Brody, you mentioned the tight end room. Braden Willis just made a 53-man roster at 49ers, which is awesome. Congrats to him. But you look at the offense, we've all heard it all fall camp and spring and everything. Loaded. Everyone says loaded at talent, right? But look what they're missing. And I'm just saying for productivity, your best running back, Gray, receiver, Mims, tight end, Willis. 3 guys that was a lot of your production.
Offensive tackle, Anthony Harrison.
What?
Offensive line too, you're missing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, production-wise, for yardage and TD, you're missing a lot. So the biggest thing for me this first few weeks is who's going to become the Marvin Mims? Who's going to become the Eric Gray RB1? Who's going to become, well, we know tight end one, but is Stogner going to be, I mean, Stogner's a little interesting to me because I think Stogner at 6'6", he's going to cause a lot of matchup issues.
Yep.
Braden Willis was a great player, awesome. Braden Willis was not 6'6". He's going to cause some matchup issues for sure. Stogner will.
Yeah, and one of the things you said, you're looking for who's going to be the next Marvin Mims. I doubt we're going to find that out in the first couple of weeks, but that definitely is something to keep an eye on because I think they're going to play about 8 or 9 wide receivers these first couple of weeks just to kind of figure out who their top 5 are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that in this wide receiver room too, there may not be there necessarily Marvin Mims this year in terms of production wise. Now, I think Andrew Anthony can be the deep threat that Marvin Mims was, right? Because you may see more of a balanced unit this year in which you have 3 or 4 guys that may have 500 to 600 yards. You might not have a guy that has 1,000 yards this year. Now, I think that when you look at Jaleel Farouk and Andrew Anthony, they both have the potential to do that. But I just think with the depth and how many guys that will be playing at wide receiver, I think it's fair to say that may be the most comfortable Oklahoma fans feel depth-wise on the whole entire roster.
Yeah, and one other thing that really just caught my ear on BV was, and he said it. He said on short yardage situations, he said we were soft.
Yep.
And he's talking offensively as far as running the ball, and he's talking defensively at the point of attack. He said they were soft. I love the fact he said it. He came out and said we were soft. And you've heard him say it all fall camp about physical. We want to be a physical team. And I think he realized last year they weren't very physical in certain positions, in certain areas that Venables defenses especially are accustomed to being. And so I think you're going to see a lot more hard-hitting, aggressive at the line of scrimmage team. And with the depth they have at a lot of positions, they're going to be able to be a little more aggressive, I think.
Yeah, and the interior of the defensive line, that's a unit in which last year really was kind of maybe the weakness on this whole entire defense. I mean, that's probably up for debate, really, because when you look at it on edge, really, there was some talent there at linebacker. They weren't deep, but like you had Stutzman and Deshaun White and David Igwegbu, who maybe weren't the best players, but they weren't awful. So the interior of the defensive line now, there's 7 or 6 guys that you can realistically say week 1 are going to be solid contributors, and you're not going to have a massive fall off from each guy. And I think that's going to allow for them to be very, very physical when it comes to the short yardage stuff. And they also have several guys over 300 pounds in the middle too, which I think is going to help because they're going to take up space and I think you have the potential to have maybe the best interior defensive lineman in the whole entire conference, and the transfer from Tennessee and Dejon Terry. I mean, that dude's ceiling is really incredibly high, and I think he has the potential to lead a very, very solid defensive line unit this year.
2 guys that, to me, that interesting that we haven't heard a lot about, and they're not as far high on the depth chart as I thought they would be. Interesting to see where these guys fall in as playing time and how much run they get. Grayson Halton and Kobe McKenzie, guys.
Yep.
Both those guys, I mean, Connor Neer's high. They're high on him. He's high up on the depth chart. Grayson Halton, not very high on the depth chart. I thought he would be higher than that. I guess that preaches the competitive depth at both those positions because we've heard of a lot of some other backers there as well and defensive tackle. So it's going to be interesting with those 2 guys.
Yeah, and I believe that wasn't Grayson Halton originally an edge when he came to Oklahoma, or am I wrong on that? Do you guys know?
I thought he was defensive tackle.
Okay, well, because if so, he was very, very light defensive tackle. But I think that with a guy like Kobe McKenzie, I don't think that maybe is necessarily due to how Kobe McKenzie played in fall camp. I just think that speaks to what Connor Neer has done, right? Because he was a very experienced player coming out of the transfer portal, obviously Wasn't he at the Division II level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to see Kobe McKenzie play.
Yes,
Oh,
Kobe
I know you.
is going to play. I remember whenever Brent Venables talked about him, he said that he just has a concrete helmet. He hits so hard. So I think that if Kobe McKenzie can just play fundamentally sound, and to me, the same thing goes with Kip Lewis. Like, guys, that guy is second behind Stutzman at will linebacker. And Kip Lewis, when he gets on the field, we've seen in the spring game, he just makes plays. The issue with him is he's only 206 pounds, it says on the depth chart, which is very, very light for a linebacker. So, and I think that with Kip Lewis, if he's able to get on the field this year, he's going to be a guy that Brent Venables is going to have a hard time keeping off just due to his ability to make plays.
Yeah. So all these that we talked about, I don't know if anything else stood out to anyone, but BV's presser said all the right things. He said the right things last year, guys. We'll know a lot of this as we get in game week and things that happen with depth chart and what that's really going to look like as the season progresses. But yeah, don't forget to click subscribe, be a part of the Sooner Surge family. We're 3 days away. It's going to be exciting. Until next time, guys. Boomer.